The Ozalbenegs at the cliffs rejoiced at their initial victory against the Jujingjings in the east, and in seeing the remaining ships retreated back towards the Red Land. Calypso saw the eastern edges filled with small flames from the burning ships. He knew that Cortho, the leader of the Ozalbenegs in the east, succeeded in driving away their enemy on that side, but their battle in the west was against their favor, as he was losing a lot of soldiers and they couldn't respond. Hidden behind a large boulder, he sensed that the pounding had stopped. They have perhaps seen their east force failed. Now, they will also retreat, he thought. He looked up and saw the ships raised their anchors and sails and started to maneuver facing them, as if following the small boats rowed by soldiers that just passed their large ships. The full moon and the clear sky gave enough view to see something being raised in front of each ship. It was a dark, high, flat wall made of thick wood, serving as an armor protecting the ships from a frontal attack, and looked like a dark sail covering the decks of the ships. The west force was enormous, for there rested the highest concentration of the Red forces. Though Skseb saw the fate of their east force, he did not retreat but continued to follow his order with his large army. He was as much as determined as Maffa to invade the Ozalbenegs. Calypso and the Ozalbenegs prepared once more, and at his command they released burning arrows and Caedas towards the enemy that came within striking distance. They watched as their missiles landed on several small boats and the ships, but it just hit its high wooden walls and did no damage, while several small boats burned and its loads thrown to the river or burned with the boat. He ordered to fire the second wave, and it did the same as the first, while the ships and large fleet of small boats continued their advance, but this time the large ships were firing their own missiles. It looked like the small boats were supported by a wide fortress coming towards them, where behind it flew hundreds of burning spears and meads. Many Ozalbenegs had died from the long-range artillery of the enemy until their own long-range weapons became useless as Calypso's throwers fell dead. He ordered the retreat, carrying their dead and wounded, and hurriedly went and regrouped inside their woods. An older Ozalbeneg, eyes reflecting fear, spoke. "What shall we do? They are too many." Calypso looked into the faces of his remaining soldiers. He knew that their numbers were not enough to repel the huge number of invaders. "We will fight them no matter what. We cannot let them take our lands, and we will hold this ground with our life, and Zixmich will help us. Have strength. We should seek the help of our brothers at Dikar, Calypso. We need them." Calypso was unsure at the spoken words of another Ozalbeneg. "We need help, Calypso, and they are the only ones who can help us now." Calypso was beginning to get confused, seeing the almost surrendered look of the Ozalbenegs. He looked at a soldier beside him. "Hercho, go to Dikar. Tell them about us." Hercho's eyes met Calypso. He nodded and quickly departed. "The rest of us shall stay here. We can use this forest to hold the enemy. We should not allow them to reach our village, and let us pray that our brothers at Dikar help us. Take your positions, gather your strength. We can hold them, we can drive them away, and Zixmich will be with us." Unknown to the Ozalbenegs, the Red invaders were far more ready against them. Each Red soldier was carrying a special shield and helmet to protect themselves against the strength of the enemy, their arrows. Diana trained them well, and he knew that time would come that the Reds and the Ozalbenegs would meet in a war. They made a special armor against the precise weapons of the Ozalbenegs, and those shields and armors were designed by the Bixers at the request of Dianat. Unlike Maffa, Sked was prudent, for he prepared very well his forces. He listened to Dianat while Maffa rested his fate with the untrained for war Jujingjings of Revilho. He smiled as he saw his large group of soldiers filled the river bank as they set up their camps. He knew the dangers of attacking the Ozalbenegs at night in their forest, and he planned to attack at daybreak. Cortho, the leader of the Ozalbenegs at the cliffs, saw the enemy succeeded in stepping onto their soils. He motioned for the others to move towards the west and support their soldiers there. As they were about to leave the cliffs, they were distracted by the few retreating ships of the Jujingjings in the east. The ships seemed like small floating rocks from where they were, but they could see that they were firing at something into the waters. There was something in the eastern river that were emitting reflections of seemed like 1,000 mirrors on a bright full moon. As they watched, each ship changed directions as if avoiding something or each other. Then, They heard faint screams of their enemies filled the quiet night as they saw a boat suddenly burned while another one seemed to have broken its sail and started to sink. They saw nothing around the ships but just the disturbed ships moving in different directions now. They were certain it was being attacked, but there was nothing there but the water and the few glittering small pieces of light that were enclosing the ships. On top of the fleets the sky was filled with seemed like small insects flying around like night birds. Far and ahead, they saw smoke rising behind a far distant mountain as its sky was seemingly glowing in red and orange color. It was the northern Red Land.